Good morning and welcome to GM Tips. This is GM Rick here coming at you, and today's topic is running Cthulhu horror in a fantasy setting. Now you can use it in sci-fi. Everything I'm giving you here is absolutely applicable in a sci-fi or a Savage Worlds or a Fate or a Mutants and Masterminds or Firefly, Dresden Files. You could go down the line of all the different games. Cipher System, all these are usable in these open RPG. So just keep that in mind that in all these systems, this is applicable. I'm focusing more on the fantasy, so Dungeon World, D&D, D&D 5, 4, 3.5, Pathfinder, and all these other ones that are out there in this side of the realm. So, a couple things to keep in mind is sources. You need to get familiar with Lovecraftian horror. So often with Lovecraftian horror, we don't have the source books or know where to go. Now, some of you are Lovecraftophiles, so I'm going to be telling you nothing that you don't know when it comes to the sources. But to the newbies who want to get into Lovecraftian horror, here are the places that I look. First of all, go back to the author himself, H.P. Lovecraft. He's got a ton of things. He goes through the Lovecraftian mythos, and the mythos is the mythology of H.P. Lovecraft. So the different gods, the elder gods. What are the elder gods? Well, you ask these questions, you shall get. I have here, with the latest and greatest from Paizo, Strange Aeons, Lovecraftian deities. That is one of the nice things they give you in the Gazetteer, which I love, is they go through the Lovecraftian deities. So, who are all these strange deities? Well, let me give you the different ones that are in the mythos. Abhath, he is of disease, fecundity, and oozes. Atlak Nacha, he is the deity, or this is the deity of construction, futility, and spiders. Azothoth, entropy, madness, mindless destruction. Bokrug, revenge, storms, and water. Chagner Fong, blood, patience, and remote hill country. Boy, blood and patience and remote hill country. Weird things. Cthulhu, of course, the main one. That is of cataclysms, dreams, and stars. Gatanotha, disasters, lost islands, and sacrifice. Hastur, decadence, disorder, nihilism. He is the dreamer in yellow, basically, or the king in yellow. Ithaqua, cannibalism, cold, and wind. Mahar, caverns, mountains, and volcanoes. Mortigan, darkness, ghouls, and the voices of the dead. Nimbaloth, despair, ghosts, and swamps. Narthalatep, conspiracies, dangerous secrets, and forbidden magic. Ogresh, alchemy, hunger, subterranean waterways. Ron Tegoth, hibernation, immortality, and ruin. Shub Nigareth, fertilities, forests, and monsters. Tsathagwa, magic, outcasts, the underworld. Zamindor, decay, parasites, and transformation. Yig, which is cycles, procreation, and serpents. And Yog Sothoth. I'm not going to give you pictures of each. You got to buy the book. I am not going to do that to Paizo. You want to see these things, get In Search of Sanity, the first one. If there is one path that you get outside of all of your other systems, even if you're doing Dungeons and Dragons 5, 4E, 3.5, 3.5, or you're doing Dungeon World, get the Adventure Path Strange Aeons out of Pathfinder. I'm telling you, they give you the ammunition and the different creatures outside of their bestiaries that will help you to be able to run these type of adventures. They give you enough background on the gods that you don't have to go read all of Lovecraft's works to get that. Some of his great works that I like, the Dunwich Horror, love it. It's a fishy kind of story is the best way I'm going to put it. Um, At the Mountains of Madness, always a good one. And then The Shadows over Innsmouth. Those are all strong books that if you read them, it will get you enough Lovecraft to help you to spin the tales. Now, some movies that are good. They did do the Dunwich Horror in a movie form. They also did Hellraiser with the Chitons. Chitons are out of Lovecraftian type of horror. So the Chitons there, or they call them Cenobites, which follows more of what Lovecraft called them. They're Chitons. And so they're really bizarre, bloody things. So keep that in mind. That follows into Lovecraftian horror. Also, the Wishmaster. Now, I know a lot of people look at the Wishmaster and go, Lovecraft? Yeah. Evil Jinn, and Efreets, that comes right out of the Mad Arabs books in the old Necronomicon. So keep those in mind. All that falls into that purview. Now, if you want some great art for your campaign, R.R. Geiger, Richard Upton, Richard Upton Pickman, Henry Anthony Wilcox, and Nicholas Roerich are all great Lovecraftian style artists that have done paintings of amazing value. Sorry, sometimes I get going and my words go in my brain. So keep that in mind. Now, where are some other great sources? If you don't have other great sources of it, go to Chaosium. Chaosium does the Call of Cthulhu games, the role-playing game. Chaosium has a lot of great stuff and ideas. You can get into the CthulhuFiles.com, a great website that goes through Cthulhu-esque type of things. And then, there's another game outside of Chaosium called Octung Cthulhu. So it's a little more modern. If you want to do something that's 1940s, 1930s, 1920s, they have that type of work. So those are just some source places. Why do I say that? Because when you get into this, you got to realize Cthulhu is something totally different than your everyday horrors. Okay, we are so numb sometimes as players and GMs to the horrors. Ghoulism, zombies, the bloodthirstiness, those things in Lovecraft's time would have set people sideways sanity-wise. And we're more numb to them as a society. So you're not going to freak your players by thinking that way. You have to kind of get into the mindset that Lovecraft was mad. He literally was. He was off his rocker, mad with the Cthulhu and the Necronomicon. It took his sanity thinking of all these different creatures. That's the kind of thing that is Lovecraft. It is a bizarre, it's almost like your flesh is melting type of situation. Or you're having a really bad trip on some sort of hallucinogen. That is Lovecraft. I don't know any other better way to put it as a GM. And so you have to paint that madness for your players. I suggest, out of the horror adventures from Pathfinder or out of the Call of Cthulhu rules, introducing madness and sanity. You have to really get into your characters' minds, and seeing these types of creatures that they're going to see and experiencing these things that are otherworldly that they're going to go through, and just the sheer madness and chaos of it all, it's going to affect their minds. It's going to affect their sanity. Now, your players might grumble, but you make it clear from the beginning of your campaign, there will be sanity. Sanity is your intelligence, your wisdom, and your charisma all put together. That's your sanity or complete sanity score. Your sanity threshold is the highest stat of those. So it is the intelligence, the wisdom, or the charisma, or whatever other stat equates to those. Okay, it is your intellect, your wisdom at life, and your influence of people. Those all go into your sanity. Okay. And then your sanity threshold is the highest score. And once you pass that threshold, that's when you introduce the forms of madness, whether it's a temporary madness or a permanent madness. You're going to introduce that to your players. And you're going to have them do rolls to try to get that back. Now, it takes time and healing and spells to get it back. Don't just let your players get sanity back quickly. Otherwise, it holds no value. Literally, I used to play a game that was a Lovecraftian game on the GameCube, okay? And I think some of you will remember the game. And you're walking through and seeing these horrors, and slowly but surely, your world is shifting. What started out to be normal, you start hearing voices going, ha 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 ha, and just the babbling languages you don't understand, and you start seeing hallucinations. That's Lovecraft. And that's the kind of horror that these adventures bring. Now, in running a campaign, you can pick something like this. I suggest getting this path. I've gotten it lately, along with the horror realms. Now, you may not use all this because, again, unless you're playing Pathfinder, you may not choose to do this. But what they do bring in here are different types of corruptions and influences that affect the mind, and even take the most iconic characters and warp their thinking. They also give you some fun locations. Now, you don't have to use those, but you could incorporate those into places that you choose. You see where I'm going with this? You have to build a macabre, gothic, truly insane, chaotic horror. And that's what you're doing here. Music, go out and get the music. There are tons. Look up Call of Cthulhu on Apple iTunes or on any of the other music sites, and you will find whole albums. They have the Necronomicon album. They have a lot of others. The March of the Young for Shub Niggurath. It's just the music itself sets the tone. And I would play bizarre music during it because you want your characters and players to start getting just messing a little bit with their psyche. And that's what you're doing. Now, what are monsters that are common in Cthulhu? Now, I've added some monsters from, and again, these are out of bestiaries and some out of the dungeon, the monster manual, the original monster manual. So let's give you some ones out of the monster manual. The Illithids and the Intellect Devourers, definitely. There is a worm that is also a worm type of creature with tentacles, not your carrion crawlers, but there's a literal worm creature that is a, what do they call it, a Sagoth or Sagothi? Sagothi. Yes, Sagothi. It's spelled, I think, Siggauthi. The Sagothi are considered an Underdark horror, but they come from the Dark Tapestry. They come from the Cthulhu realm. Okay? Your flying polyps, also a Cthulhu thing that is in the monster manual. So those are some creatures just out of the monster manual. Those are all off of H.P. Lovecraft. So those are considered creatures of, Lovecraft. Your denizens of Lang. You could even throw probably your Githyanki and Githsari, but I don't know if they're necessarily Lovecraft. The Lang ones are more because when you take off their thing and what you see underneath, it's just horrific. Your Lang spiders, definitely another creature from the Outdark. Scum. Scum are a human and fish hybrid, i.e. the Dunwich horror. It's a mix between the two. Your elder deity, what's his name? Dagon. Dagon is considered part of the Cthulhu mythos. Now, they didn't put him in here, but Dagon is. He is the underwater god of insanity, and there are Kuatoa. The Kuatoa follow in that. So Kuatoa are definitely considered part of the H.P. Lovecraftian genre. Chitons, absolutely. Chitons are, and they're both in the bestiaries, I believe, and in the monster manual. So chitons are creatures of just immense horror and pain and torture, and they are about that. Elder things. So elder things may be in your monster manual. It may be something you have to get in the homebrew. It is in the bestiary 4 for us in the Pathfinder side of things. But elder things and Mi-Go are both considered creatures, star creatures behind the dark tapestry. Again, mind you, these creatures are off in another dimension, but we call them the dark tapestry in Pathfinder. They're on the other side of the dark tapestry. Uh, some other creatures I threw in there that have come out of the Pathfinder path itself, the Strange Aeons, are the Womp, Ibshade, Formless Spawn, Bayaki, Faceless Hulk, Star Vampires, which look like giant octopi, Ghouls or Ghoul, an Onragen, which is basically a tie into the dream plane through a living creature where their soul is gone, but they become the base point that begins to bleed in the fog from the region that Hastur is in. So that's one of those type of creatures. I threw Bole in there because those worms are so bizarre. They could honestly be a Cthulhu type of creature. The Brethedians, which are the outer creatures that look like. Well, let me give you some looks at them, and you tell me. Brethedians. So, again, mind you, this will be 25 minutes, so I'm going to go just slightly above my normal 20 minutes. But this is a Brethedian. See where I'm going? Kind of a wild creature. Oh yeah, the color in space. I love the color in space. I've had my players go against one of those before. Oh man, you want to talk about a horror? Um, the color in space just is a immense horror. It is literally just a color thing, but it can disintegrate things. Not fun. Uh, your contemplatives. Okay. And let's go down some other ones real quick. Dorve, flesh dregs, great old ones, of course, which are the old gods. The Hyakume out of the Japanese religion. I think they look with those little insect things that come out of their back. They look Cthulhu-esque in my mind. Night Gaunts, nightmare creatures, spawn of Yog Sagoth, star spawn of Cthulhu, spawn of Shub Niggurath, and so on and so forth. There are so many. Hounds of Tindalos. That's another creature that throw in there. So there's a real strong lot of creatures that make up what are the Cthulhu creatures. Don't limit yourself. Basically, any type of horrors that go into the bizarre and the macabre, you can throw in there. So skinwalkers, why not? Oh my gosh, what are they? Of Indian legend, oh my gosh, and I'm just blanking on them, and I had them the other day. They are the cannibalistic creatures that the humans become, those tortured souls that feed on themselves and on others. They are nasty, but they fall into the Cthulhu purview. So keep in mind, Cthulhu is basically warped, chaotic creatures from the realm of dreams that are just horrific nightmares. And they live and they are existent and they will mess with your characters' minds. So when you spin your tales around this, you need to introduce that horror feeling. And get your players into that type of mindset. Don't make it easy to kill these creatures. Make it hard, and when they do, that it drives them crazier and crazier as they go through those experiences. So keep that in mind. I hope I am actually going to keep it to my 20 minutes. I hope you guys really enjoy it and enjoy the Lovecraftian style horrors. I do, and I'm looking forward to running Strange Aeons with my players sometime soon. Keep in mind, folks, It is a bizarre, bizarre mythos, but a lot of fun to run. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great week of gaming. Put some Lovecraft in your game and put some horror and sanity into your game, or insanity. Thanks again.